Hi, welcome back to Worm's Eye View. I'm Pippa and I'm covering all sorts of things on my videos. I started off with just early years with fun activities for kids to do, but I've kind of moved on from that bit and I do shopping hauls and I do car boot hauls and I do booktube, so I cover book reviews and various other things. I have a few minutes to myself. I say a few minutes, I've got a whole evening to myself. All the others, the lads in the house, have all gone off to the cinema. So I'm enjoying a bit of reading and I thought I'd get a few videos done while the house is empty. So I'm going to cover my this week's book reads. Now, I haven't actually got many because I've not been doing so much reading this week. I'm not really sure why. I've been running backwards and forwards for my eldest son's GCSEs, so he's been having exams and study periods, but then I've been backwards and forwards picking him up whilst trying to work as well. So probably the times when I would have had the kids in bed, the little ones that I look after in bed, and I would have had a chance to read, I've kind of, their sleep routine's a little bit out of sorts because I've been having to put them in the car and drive to go and get my eldest. So yeah, I'm not really sure what's happened this week, but I'll go through. I've got 3 books, 2 to review and 1 to tell you what I'm covering at the moment. So the last book I was reading was The Lake of Dreams, and this is by Kim Edwards. And it says here, 10 years ago, traumatised by her father's death, Lucy left her home and her country. Now she returns to her family rambling lakeside home to lay old ghosts to rest. Sleepless one night, Lucy makes a momentous discovery. Locked in a moonlit window seat is a collection of family heirlooms, objects whose secrets no one was ever supposed to find. Piecing together her family true history, she realises that the story she has always been told was a fiction. Mesmerising and haunting, The Lake of Dreams is a startling story of family secrets and lies, lost love and redemption, and of many pieces and puzzles that make up a life. This was okay. This is by the same person who wrote The Secret Keeper's Daughter, which I read actually before I read this one, and it was in my last book reviews. And I enjoyed that book, but like that book, this was a bit slow. But I think that was the idea of the story. You know, this girl has come back from Japan. She's visiting her mum, who's had a bit of an accident. Her mum is fine, but so much has changed in the couple of years that since her last visit. Her family home looks like it's going to be sold. Her mum looks like she's got a new boyfriend. Her dad died several years ago, which she holds on to and blames herself for some of this. The town that she's grown up in, which is called the Lake of Dreams, is dramatically changing, and it's based around these stunning windows, stained glass windows, that were in a church in a place that was cut off. It was used by the army, and for years it's been cut off and used. Now the army base has closed down, and now everyone's vying for a little piece of the land. The people who originally had their houses demolished to make way for this, so the ancestors of, whose ancestors, should I say, had their homes demolished, they want to reclaim some of their land. And before that, the original sort of tribal people that lived there, who would like to take some of their sacred ground back. And there's also the nature people who have seen the wildlife over the last 20 years just flourish, and sort of rare animals, a family of white deer who have, because this place has been overgrown and left for so long, they've been at peace and they're living a lovely life on this kind of area around the Lake of Dreams. So there's a lot of different storylines going on, a lot of changes happening when this girl goes back to stay with her mum. And she finds these papers that come from a family member she's never heard of. And so she starts doing some investigations. She starts linking it to these stained glass windows that were found in the church on this land that's been boarded up for all this time. And that an old school friend or an old flame of hers is actually renovating and restoring these windows. He's also a glassblower and creates some beautiful pieces of work himself. So the 2 stories kind of this church and the beautiful windows kind of ties in with the things that she's finding out about her own family and the history that she is trying to learn about and find out about through these papers and these leaflets and things that she finds, and old letters and a piece of fabric that her mum found years ago in a chest. It's slow. It's enjoyable. it's an enjoyable read. It's not one that I would go back to. It's not one that I would say, yeah, definitely you need to read this book. And I think that was just the fact it was a slow-paced book, and at times I was like, come on now, there's nothing big happening. There's a few revelations. You know, you read through some of the letters that that this sort of girl's ancestor has written, and kind of you want to know about her story, but it's there were too many people mentioned, too many dates, too many people. At the very end, to be fair, but it wasn't clear it was there until I got to the end. There is actually a family tree. And maybe it's at the end, because if it was any further in the book, you'd have made these links sooner. But I would have really liked this to be middle way through the book, or at least part of this, as we were learning about the family. I would have liked some of this to be in the middle of the book, so I could just picture it. I'm a very visual person, and these names were being thrown up, and some of them had sort of similar sounding second names, and that just threw me a little bit, I'll be honest. I'm easily confused. So it was okay. Maybe a 2. It was okay. Okay, now I've just finished this. This is my second Sophie Kinsella book, I think. I know these Shopaholic series are really enjoyable for a lot of people. This is my first Shopaholic book, so I probably should have read some of the others to get some idea of the history, but I don't think it matters that I've dipped in. The characters are quite self-explanatory. They're not too complex. I understand she's had some shopping addiction that she's sort of trying to deal with. So yes, whilst some of this may have made more sense to me if I had read previous books in sequence, it really didn't matter dipping into it. This one says, Becky Brandon is on a major rescue mission. Hollywood was full of surprises, and now she's on a road trip to Las Vegas to help her friends and family. She's determined to get to the bottom of why her dad has mysteriously disappeared, help her best friend Suze, and even bond with Alicia Bitch Longlegs. As Becky discovers just how much her friends and family need help, she comes up with the biggest, boldest, most brilliant plan yet. So can she save the day just when they need her most? Again, this was okay. I didn't really understand why they were going on this trip. You know, quite early on in the book, she contacts her dad, so he's safe and well, and he's just saying, you know, just give me some privacy. You know, I'm doing something. I'm fine. I'll be back in a few days. You know, and now, if that was my dad said, look, you know, just give me some space, I'll be back in a few days, and I'd be a bit annoyed that maybe he's not telling us what he's doing, but you know what? It's his life, and if he wants some privacy, he's got a good reason for doing what he's doing. But no, there's a bunch of them that go on an RV road trip trying to track down old friends of his dad's, to unravel some mystery about some invention that was created and who has claim to what, and trying to right some wrong from the past. And I just kind of felt like, you know what, the whole kind of story premise, the whole kind of we're going on this thing to try and rescue my dad, he didn't need rescuing. He made that clear early on in the story. And so the whole thing seemed a bit pointless. At the end, you know, I'm not going to spoil it at the end, but at the end, all becomes good, you know, which is kind of what I imagine happens in these books. It all becomes good. With some wacky plan that she's come up with, which again, having not read them, I assume is probably what happens in most of the books. But there were funny bits, there were some enjoyable bits, but the whole concept of the book, I just kind of thought, why are you doing it? Just go home. Actually, just go home. So again, it was okay. It was okay. So this is the one I'm currently reading by Ali Shaw. Now, I assumed Ali Shaw was a woman until I read some blurb at the front that said that Ali Shaw is a man who grew up in a small town in Dorset and actually worked at the Bodleian Library in Oxford. So that's just down the road from me. And this is called The Girl with the Glass Slipper. And it says, a stunningly original debut, an enchanting love story and a race against time. When Ida McLeod realises she is slowly turning into glass, she returns to the strange enchanted island where she believed the glass first took hold, in search of the one man who might just be able to cure her. But then, when she meets young Midas Crook, another transformation begins. As Midas helps Ida come to terms with her affliction, they start to fall in love. What they need most is time, and time is fast slipping away. Will they find a way to halt the spread of the glass? The Girl with the Glass Feet is an enthralling and eerie fairy tale, a first novel of remarkable and original imagination for those who fell in love with the time traveller's wife. For all those who fell in love with the time traveller's wife. Read it and be under its spell. Now, I've never read The Time Traveller's Wife. I think I might have seen the film. I'm sure it was a film. Or maybe not. I've heard about it anyway. So, yes. Oh, okay, so this is an uncorrected bound proof. Okay, I hadn't realised it was a proof. Anyway, it sounded really sweet, and I bought this back, I think I bought this down south at Easter. And it's been in my TBR pile for, well, a month and a bit now, and I haven't got around to reading it. So I've decided that's what I'm going to read. And so far, I'm only chapter 4, but it seems quite sweet. What I'm getting the idea of is it's told from Ida's point of view, and for one chapter, and then Midas Crook's, was it Midas Crook actually? No, see, I've forgotten already. I'm sure it's yeah. So one is, you know, one chapter's told by Midas, and then one's by Ida, and then Midas, and then Ida. So I think we're going to flip between the two characters. But like I said, it's an easy read so far. I'm enjoying it so far. 4 chapters in. So this is what I'm going to sit back and read now. I'm going to make myself a cup of tea and enjoy the peace and quiet in my house for the rest of the evening while the lads are at the cinema, and hopefully make a good way through this book. So yeah, I've only got those 3, and I've only had 2 to review, I'm afraid, but I've had a really slow reading week. Okay, if you want to check out more of my book reviews, please check out my my reading playlists, and if you fancy checking out any of my other types of videos, then go check them out too. Click subscribe, push the bell button, and then you won't miss anything. Okay, cool. Thanks for watching.